It's Nick Hubble from Walk Ride, Greater Manchester.
Hello. So, thanks for having me back. Those who came to this last year might remember me speaking then. At that time I spoke about the emerging trend across certain regions of our country for bumping, walking and cycling up the transport agenda. And that's a trend that we've seen across the country continuing this year. In fact, Greater Manchester hosted the very first summit of walking and cycling or active travel commissioners the country has ever seen. We currently have commissioners in Greater Manchester, Sheffield, Liverpool, the West Midlands, Scotland and of course London. Those represent 22 million people. So they're fighting the corner of 22 million people for improved active travel infrastructure, which is a marked improvement to where we were a few years ago. However, that means we've got 40 million people who don't have anyone in their corner for that agenda. So that's why we need national action to get this implemented pretty much wherever you live. It shouldn't be a lottery. Just to give you a few ideas about what's going on in Greater Manchester, Boardman is our walking and cycling commissioner, possibly the most prominent cycle advocate in the country. His method is quite interesting. He's calling the council's bluff. What he does is he says, build some cycling and walking infrastructure. They say, we haven't got any money. He goes, I've got some money. You can have it if you build it to the right standard. They say, we haven't got the expertise to build it to the right standard. And he says, I will give you that expertise. So by stripping back those layers, we actually get to the crux of the matter. And I'm sure we all know what that is here. It's political will, fear of the backlash, fear of change. So how do we go about winning politicians over? How do we convince them that there's a demand for this? This is a question that a group of us in Manchester asked ourselves at the end of 2018. And we decided the answer was to set up a campaign group that was pushing this car-free agenda. So what we decided to do was not to set up a traditional cycling campaign, but something of a slightly different flavour. What we were interested more in is getting people on side to campaign for better everyday journeys and better places to live. In Greater Manchester, and I'm sure this is a figure that's repeated across the country, 250 million journeys a year are made by car of less than 1 kilometre. If you can win those people over for those journeys, then you can start getting them thinking about bigger trips. So we set up a group. We didn't even put bikes in the name. We called ourselves Walk Ride. Okay, you can ride a bike, but you can also ride a scooter, you can ride a bus. It's more of a catch-all idea. We set up last December and we've already got 25 hyper-local groups. What we mean by hyper-local groups are people who are interested in the streets around them, the journeys they make, their commutes, their kids' journey to school, and we found in a very organic way that that is the unit that people are interested in. As a result of that, we've got people who don't cycle who are campaigning for active travel infrastructure. We've got people who've never campaigned before involved in our group because it's about them. It's not about cycle commuters, it's not about the traditional stuff. That's all very important as well, but how do you win over that bigger population? And that's what we've tried to do. So we're about positive and inclusive messaging. We talk about healthy streets, active neighbourhoods, livable cities, clean air. We focus our campaigns on improving the school run, getting rid of pavement parking, traffic-free towns and cities, which we're all talking about, and bottom of the list is, but equally important, is getting bikes on public transport, catering better for people who want to use bikes as part of a multimodal trip. And in the few months that we've been going, we've already had a few successes. We've given evidence to a parliamentary committee. We're already the first point of contact for any media stories about this. We've already put in various bids for infrastructure interventions, mini Holland type things like that. We were part of a movement that has caused Manchester to bring forward the pedestrianisation of Deansgate, which is a key shopping street stroke traffic sewer. Chris Boardman endorses our group, and a really big impact that we've had is linking up with other community groups across Manchester and the wider region who are interested not necessarily in cycle lanes, but are interested in better places to live for them and their families. Of course, we still face a lot of challenges. The Greater Manchester pollution charge exempts private motor vehicles as it is currently planned. That's something we need to get sorted out. We face an obstinate old guard across many of the councils in the region, and we face a huge disparity in the interest of the 10 councils in Greater Manchester in this agenda. If the schemes that have currently been proposed are actually built, that will see residents of Salford have £300 a head spent on cycling and walking infrastructure, while the residents of Oldham will get just £3.60. That's still twice the national average, but it's not good enough. So that's where we are. We've got a new campaign group, we're pushing this agenda, there's still a lot to do, and we're doing what we can. And we absolutely subscribe to the goals that are being advanced today. Driving needs to be disincentivised massively. Public transport needs to be incentivised. We have in Mayor Andy Burnham somebody who wants to push this agenda forward. Unfortunately, he doesn't currently have the powers to, but it is something that we're all working towards. And the last thing I want to say is we think, obviously we believe that walking and cycling should have the funding that it deserves to make it the option that people need for their first journeys. Okay, thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Nick.